Hi. Hi, everybody. Jason Allen, jasonallenonline.com. I am actually coming to you live from my home office in sunny Las Vegas, Nevada, a.k.a. my bed. That's right, I'm lying in bed because I'm feeling lazy today. I kind of ate like crap yesterday. Had a little cheat day, ate a bunch of crappy food, so now I don't have any motivation, so I'm just laying in bed. But I wanted to get this out to you, and it's actually perfect. It fits perfectly because it kind of has to do with what my story is today. It's about being lazy and about how when you're lazy, you think that you're just taking a little bit of a rest and you're regrouping and it's going to be good for you, but really you're only hurting yourself. You're not hurting anybody else. You're hurting yourself. When you cheat yourself. So, I wrestled in high school. I wasn't very good. I actually sucked. And it's not that I sucked in practice. I really sucked in competition, but I could have done much better. I just didn't. I didn't get nearly to my potential. Let's just put it that way. And I didn't figure out until years later why that was. I just thought it was like, oh, it's just my genetics or something like that. You know, we always come up with these excuses of, oh, well, I have poor genetics, or that's just not who I am, or whatever lie we like to tell ourselves. But I remember there were some kids that I wrestled with that did really well. A couple of them actually were state champions. Quite a few of them went to state, so they won regionals and then they went to state, or they placed in regionals and then they went to state. And then, like I said, two of them actually were state champions. And I'll tell you, one of the things that like all of these kids had in common was they all would show up early. Our coach would open the gym, the weight room at the high school. He'd get there early at like 6 a.m. and he'd open up the weight room, and these kids would get in there. And like I said, there was only like a handful of them, like 2 or 3 of them. So there's, I don't know, probably 30 kids on the wrestling team. And there's like 2 or 3 of them every year that are meeting in the gym, in the weight room every morning and lifting. And then they go to school. And then after school, they go to practice. And then after practice, they would go to the track and they would run 5 miles. Like just an insane physical workload. But they all did really well in competition. And me being stubborn or stupid or like naive, I don't know what it was. It took me until I was in my 30s to figure out like, oh, that's why those kids did so well in wrestling. It wasn't because they were talented. It wasn't because they had dads that taught them how to wrestle. I mean, some of them did, sure. It wasn't because they had, a supportive family or they had good genetics or whatever it was. No, they put in the reps. They put in the work. And so our coach used to always push us in practice. And he would always tell us when we were slacking off that we were only hurting ourselves. And I never got that because I was that slacker kid. Like we'd be doing push-ups, right? And he'd have us banging out reps of push-ups, and he could only look, you can't look at 20 or 30 kids at the same time. Keep your eye on all of them. He'd walk around and make sure we were doing them. But I swear, whenever he wasn't looking, my knees were dropping. I was doing like quarter reps. I would just stall. And I remember him saying all the time, because he knew that we were doing it. He'd say all the time, those of you that aren't, doing all your push-ups, he said, you're only hurting yourself. It's going to come out. It's going to come out in competition. When you get on that mat, we're going to see who's doing their push-ups when I'm not looking. And again, that's one of those things that I didn't figure out till years later in life, that people, when they show up on the mat, or when they show up on the stage, or when they show up in life, or when they show up in business, on a sales call, in their marketing messages, whatever, you can tell the ones that were putting in the reps when nobody was looking and the ones that were slacking. And again, I'll say it again. It took me until I was over 30 years old to figure this out. Because those kids that won state in wrestling, they would squeeze out every single rep. If our coach told us to do 100 push-ups, they would do it, and they'd be screaming and yelling, and they'd drop, and then they'd get back up, and they'd do them, and they would go to 110. They would do extra. They used to run so hard, they'd push themselves so hard. I remember we'd be running, we'd be jogging, and I would always slow down and hope nobody noticed me. I'd be trying to conserve energy. Those kids would try to push themselves harder. They would puke. They would run to the side of the room and puke in the trash cans. Those kids, they had something in them, and I don't know, and I'm still blown away. I'm still, I don't know the word. I have a lot of respect for, a 15 or 16-year-old kid that has that kind of desire. It's like, man, where does that come from at that age? But these kids had it, and they would have that desire to push themselves, to go hard. And like I said, they'd make themselves puke. But then when it was game time, when it was showtime, when they were on that mat, they were stronger, they were faster, they didn't get tired, they didn't quit. They performed, and they went to high levels. Me, I'd get out there, I'd get a little tired, I'd just roll over and get pinned. I'd pin myself. And I just thought, in my mind, it was, well, I'm just not good at this. Well, I don't have the talent. I don't have the genetics. Well, nobody in my family are athletes. I don't know why I'm doing this. This is silly. And then, like I said, I figured out years later, had nothing to do with that. It had everything to do with my work ethic. I wasn't putting in the reps. And I'm going to say this as a side note. Despite not being good at it, I still benefited quite a bit from it. And I always recommend people getting their kids into wrestling. I think it teaches you so many valuable life lessons. Even if you're bad at it like I was, it'll be very beneficial to you later on in life. Just to kind of tie it into marketing and what we're doing here, we have reps, right? So this is putting in the reps. Doing these podcasts. Early on, nobody's listening to your podcast. You still need to do them. Because the more you do it, the more articulate you become over time, the more persuasive you become over time. And when you do finally build an audience and people are listening and you've got people, standing in front of you, you're going to be able to deliver a clear, concise message that moves them. If you've never practiced before, and then all of a sudden you're just put on a stage in front of a bunch of people, just a bunch of gobbledygook is going to come out of your mouth, and nobody's going to listen to you. Or they're going to laugh at you, or they're going to cringe and horror. They're going to have a bunch of secondhand embarrassment, which isn't good. So you have to put in those reps when nobody's listening. You should be writing. Same thing. You should be writing every day. Even if nobody's going to read it, you need to practice. You need to practice. See, I'm having a hard time now. I need to put in more reps. You need to practice your prose. You need to practice delivering your message in a verbal form. And the better you get at that, the more you're going to be able to influence people, which is everything in life and in business. And so you got to put in those reps every day when people aren't looking. You have to be putting in quality information into your mind every day. Nobody's watching you when you're home alone and you're reading or you're watching TV. Nobody's watching you. Nobody's there to say, hey man, maybe you should turn off the TV. You really need to be watching Netflix right now. Really need to be surfing through YouTube videos. Maybe you need to pick up your Kindle and read for an hour. Nobody's there to tell you that. So you have to hold yourself accountable. You have to put in those reps so that when you make your content, whether you write a blog post or you record a podcast like I'm doing here, you make a video, you have good, clear messaging, not some crap that you saw on TV, but some good, helpful advice that you got from a book. And if you don't do that, when nobody's looking, when nobody's there to hold your feet to the fire, it's going to show. You're only hurting yourself. Like my coach said back when I was in high school, you're only hurting yourself. You need to put in those reps. You need to get in that time. When you're in your car, driving to and from work, you listen to music, you listen to talk radio, or you put in an audio book. Again, content is all about, Tim Ferriss has a great way of putting it. He doesn't call the writing process creating. A lot of people say it's creating, content creation. He calls it synthesis. And I love that expression. It's like you're putting all of this stuff into your mind. You're putting all of these ideas into your mind from the people that you associate with, the conversations you're having, the things that you're looking at on social media, the videos that you're consuming, the audios that you're consuming, and the audiobooks that you're listening to, the books, the physical books that you're reading. All of this is coming in your mind, and then when you sit down to create content, you're actually synthesizing all of that information, tying it into your own life experience, and then that's what's coming in, that's what's coming out. And if you put in nothing but garbage is going to come out, right? Garbage in, garbage out. So you need to at least take some time every single day to put in some good quality information. Put in the reps. Consume quality information. Put in the reps. Synthesize that quality information. Do this when you don't have an audience. And then when you do have an audience, people are going to listen to you. People get into this business all the time and they say, well, I need traffic. You know, this guy's successful because he has money and he can buy all these ads. Well, it doesn't matter. If I handed you $1 million and said, here, go buy a bunch of ads on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and you did, and you drove tens of thousands of eyeballs onto your webpage, doesn't mean you're going to make your money. By the way, I learned this from experience. You have to get your messaging right first. You can throw all the money at it in the world, and if they show up to your webpage and you look like an idiot, and you sound like an idiot, and you don't have a believable message, then people, they're just not going to buy your product or service from you. So you have to practice before you have an audience. You have to get your message right before you build that following. And you do that by putting in the reps when nobody is looking. That's when you do it. And then if you do this over time, slowly but surely, your audience is going to build. You're going to wake up one day and you're going to have an audience, and you're going to have people that want to listen to you, and you're going to have people that want to consume your content, and you're going to have people that want to share it and engage with it, and they want to buy whatever you're selling, and then you're going to be free. But you can't skip these steps. Just like my coach said, you're cheating yourself if you don't put in the reps. So put in the reps every day. Consume, create. Don't cheat yourself. You deserve better. That's all I got for today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the weekend, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Oh, one more thing. See, I almost forgot. If you want more quality information, head over to jasonallenonline.com. Also, you see a free video on there, on that website, as of the recording of this podcast anyway. There is a free video on there that will show you exactly everything that you need to do to make a full-time living online so that you can quit your job and live a life of freedom. You got to put in the work, though. Okay? We'll teach you exactly what to do, but you still have to put in the work. So go check that out, jasonallenonline.com. Talk soon. Bye-bye.